Hello and welcome to the live reality game podcast. My name is Steven Stewart and I'm excited for more Surviving Reelfoot First Fire coverage today. And joining us for a deep dive of her game, we have Alyson. Alyson, how are you doing?
Hello, I am doing well. I have my tea ready to sip and ready to spill.
Well, you have a lot of fans in the chat and people who are very excited to see and hear your story today. So I am excited for it as well because I've heard a lot of people's perspectives and now I'm excited to finally get to yours.
Yeah.
So talk to me about Reelfoot. What led you to decide to apply for it?
So this was my 7th Survivor game that I have played. And I applied last year and was an alternate. And I feel like there were just too many people in last year's cast that I needed to drop for me to take their spot because I had quite a few connections with them there. So I wanted to apply again. And as I have labeled myself and have everyone else has too, Little Miss Confident, you know those little ball characters, you know those drawings?
No, not really.
10 years ago, like all the different personality traits, and I don't know, it was a fad. But
kind of like from what was the movie about the girls' emotions? It's like Inside Out? No. Oh, it is Inside Out. Perfect.
Sure. Where was I going? But I applied, and I kind of have the same spiel that I give for every audition video, but I tweak it here and there because I'm always me, so it's always the same. But I wanted to try for Reelfoot because of the length of the game. I feel like that was the next step for me to do something a little more difficult and new. And I also really love that it was live streamed or recorded then posted pretty much immediately because I like people experiencing the game along with us in real time. Episodes are amazing and some of them are executed so well and it's so fun to watch that back, but it's kind of cool to experience the game yourself and then have the people in the real world experience it with you at the same time because then it's just done. I don't need to.
It's out there. People know the results. You can talk about it.
I don't need to keep any secrets. Like I'm done. But I did tell them at the end of my interview, I was like, "You guys should cast me, and I am aware that I will probably have connections, but you should cast me first, and then cast around me. Make the connections the least amount for me, you know." So it might have worked. I got cast.
So you're on the cast. How do you prepare for the game? Because you've played a variety of games that I'd say are difficult. Outlast, Survival Challenge. Reelfoot's just going to be longer. So what work do you do to prepare for it?
I feel like I just prepared mentally. I have had no trouble in past games just being in the woods. I was prepared to not sleep. I was prepared to get eaten by bugs. I was prepared to not want to wear a lot of clothing. So I was intentional with literally everything I did in this game, starting from the moment I was cast. I spent months trying to pick the perfect outfits. I wanted to appear athletically disheveled, and I feel like I did that really well. I knew that I wasn't going to want to wear shirts, so I chose to pick an orange sports bra and a purple sports bra so that I could, whatever I ended up with, or if we had a swap, I was prepared. So I was ready for the elements of Reelfoot. And then randomly, like 2 months before the game, I started running. I grew up as a track runner, middle school through high school, but I was a sprinter. But I just randomly started running miles around the streets of my apartment. And I do think building up that endurance helped with me being able to last 8 days, no problem. The walks from camp to the fields were bearable, but it was the bags, the small bags, and all of the stuff that we had to carry that was the unbearable part. So going into the game, I felt prepared. Man, I really feel like my tangents are gonna go off like wild. I need to find a fidget. Like I don't even know what your question was, but I just went off.
You answered it.
Okay.
So, talking about your strategy, did you have a strategy coming into the game?
I did. I had quite a few, and I executed them pretty well. One of them being that I knew I was going to have connections with people. I didn't know who, but I knew it. And so my plan was to, whoever I knew, I was going to automatically be, this is BB-8, I was automatically going to be happy and upbeat towards them first. That way they had no time to be hesitant about where I stood. And I didn't want to be sneaky with them. Whether I was going to work with them or not, I didn't know. But I knew that I wanted to be happy about it. And I think I did that pretty well. Another thing that I wanted to focus on was making everybody feel comfortable around me. I'm a nice person, so it was real. I was genuinely myself, but I made it a point to talk to everybody in a very relaxed way. And I had the conversations that I needed to, I think, when I needed them, because I had already built a little bit of rapport with people because they felt comfortable. And another one, which I guess I didn't really do, but it didn't matter because I was one of the threats also, even though people didn't think that, was I wanted to surround myself with people who I felt I could beat in individual challenges when it came time for merge. I didn't want to be best friends with a puzzle maker because they would always beat me. I didn't want to be left with the Robs, but it didn't matter because I still beat them in some anyway. So that was one thing that I went in wanting to do, but it didn't really happen, but it didn't really affect my game, so it's okay.
You also have a lot of life changes that happen right before the game. You mentioned this in your Final Tribal Council. You, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you quit your job.
I did quit my job, yeah, and that is literally something that I wanted to keep to myself until I had the chance to speak on it in a Final Tribal Council. That's also how like confident I was in myself in making this decision and feeling like, okay, yeah, this is what I am doing this for. I even said it in the meeting that I called with the HR team, that I was like, you know what, I am going to use this as motivation in my Final Tribal Council speech, and maybe it will affect the hearts of some of the juror members. It didn't, but that was my plan. So yeah, a job to me is a job. It was a really, really great job. But I was kind of already feeling like it was almost time for me to want to move and do something else. I get bored very easily, and coming up on my like 3-year, almost 4-year mark in the same spot is it's almost time to go. So I was kind of thinking, if I lose my job over this, then maybe it'll just propel me to do something quicker. So I was at peace with it, and I had even more fun playing the game because I literally had nothing else to lose.
So you arrive in Tennessee. At the start of the game, you are on the Orange Tribe, the Nada Tribe. But before we kind of talk about your impressions of the tribe, looking at this cast as a whole, there were people you knew or recognized.
Yeah. 7 people. And I didn't make the cast, people, so you can't be bitter at me. You can't be sad that I knew people because I told them to cast me and cast me. But the people that I knew were such thin line connections, truly. So on my starting tribe, I knew Jess because she played in Outlast the last season, and I was on production for that. Chad was on production for the season that I played of Survival Challenge, and I honestly, sorry Chad, don't know if I remembered meeting him. I just was friends with him because we were in the Survival Challenge universe together. I'm sure he remembers if we had like met in person before, but I don't. And then on Purple, I knew Rob because we played Survivor New York together, but not really because I never made merge and we never swapped. So it was just like glances from afar, and then I watched him win. Nina, I knew of because she played Surviving Bloomington the season before me, and I got to watch her in some of the podcast reviews of my episodes. But again, that was the first time we met. Who else? Lachey played in Outlast with Jess and Trav, so I knew those two as well. Is there one more? Isaiah. He's somebody who I knew in my real life before this LRG world came to be. And again, he was just on production, I think, while I played Survival Challenge. So very bare minimum connections. I was most nervous to see how the Outlast Season 3 people would go about this game, which I think it's really weird, to be honest, that they cast 3 people from the same season of a game together. The episodes are airing now, so it's not like everybody knows what happened. But I don't know. I thought that was weird.
So you are on the Orange Tribe in Nada. What was your initial impression looking at this group?
I felt good. Feels like forever ago. My memory is not best. But we were standing on that porch, and I was, sizing everybody up, and I was like, okay, I feel like I stand out a little bit as, like, the youngest, smallest girl. Not in a negative way, it's just I felt like I stood out in that aspect. And then looking around, I felt like we had a very evenly distributed group of skill sets, which is really good to have. And I didn't feel like either Purple or Orange were more stacked in any way. So I was looking forward to meeting my group. And also, I rode in from Nashville to the game, 3-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive, with Jay West and Colby. And I was sequestered in a room with Juan. We laid on the bed together, and it was so comfy. And Brandon was in there too. I already had those little interactions that I shared with people too. And I was feeling good. And I liked my orange sports bra more than my purple one too, so I was excited.
It was fate. There we go.
Yeah.
So how was that opening a reward challenge for you then?
Well, I knew I was never going to touch mayo. that was one of the foods, if even in a gross food eating challenge, I would have failed at. But the running and working together, I think we did pretty well. And I think automatically we um, kept it very light, low stakes. First challenge, everything we were carrying, the other team was getting as well. So the only thing I think towards the end that we were missing out on was a chair. It wasn't huge stakes that we lost. Um, Plus, Juan gave us the moment of the season right off the bat with that nice barrel roll through the woods. That was that was so fun to watch, and so I think we just came together in a fun way right off the bat, which, in my opinion, is important in making the game having fun.
It's close, but you don't win the opening challenge. You get the other campsite. So, talk to me about those opening hours setting up a camp. Were there any important interactions or conversations that you had?
I think right away, Jess and I were like, "Let's do this." She said that she wanted me to be her person, and I agreed. And Chad said the same thing, that he wanted me to be his number one ride or die, which I also agreed to, and was genuine to both of them. Colby found the little cryptex in the fire, and I don't think it was showcased too much in Surviving Bloomington last year, but I was obsessed with that thing.
Yeah, I don't think that was showcased at all. That level of obsession.
No, it wasn't. We had one of those too, for people who didn't know, and I could not put it down. And to the point too where when we finally opened it, like, blood curdling scream I let out. It was so great that Devontae was walking down the hill, and I was like, we need to recreate this. You need to re-record my scream. And so we did it again. And yeah, so obviously when I saw that thing, I was like, oh, I need this. I need to get it. And I watched a confessional of Colby talking about me with it, which made me laugh so much. He was like, "She is so annoying. Everywhere I turn, there she is. I walk away, she's following me." And I was like, "I'm annoying the 20-year-old." It's too good.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there was a bit of a battle or tension over ownership of that cryptex.
It was just so funny, and I always believed him. I feel like I was the only one to always believe him. But when he took it with him for a confessional once and was gone for a long time, like, obviously you think, okay, he opened it. He's doing something now. He's getting something. And if people want to talk about that, go ahead. That's more suspicion on somebody that isn't me. But it didn't matter because I also shared in that reward of the candy, and that got me through 8 days.
Yeah, wasn't your secret strategy voting on everyone from Monada who had access to the candy jar?
Else who was putting their hands in that candy jar.
Was there any candy left at the end of the game?
Yeah, I forgot to take it out. I had like 4 pieces left in my poncho at Final Tribal, and I was gonna like take it out and eat it, but I took my poncho off and I forgot to do the bit. But I saved some literally until the last end, and then after Tribal ended and I was picking up all my stuff, I ate them. So say I did.
There's one other opening twist of the game. everyone receives 1/3 of an idol. And so if you combine
yeah.
3 of the beads of the strings together, you have a full idol. What was your reaction to this, and what were your plans around it?
I don't know if I really had any, ooh, we should do this plans. I thought it was really cool, and my mind kind of early on shifted to there's probably not an actual idol hidden anywhere. Um, and that was confirmed for me during some water challenge. Before a water challenge, we were at tribal, but they were letting us change, and they were like, yeah, you can go change in the voting booth. So I was like, okay, there's obviously nothing around the voting booth then. um, so I, going into every tribal and merge, like, I felt okay with the people I was working with. It would have been, I mean, we used it, I think, in the coolest way possible to idle somebody out. Um, and then that for Jess, that was an awesome moment for her. And then Juan too. So I feel like we did purple do anything? Well, Brandon played it.
Brandon played an idol.
Yeah, but incorrectly. So orange brought the cool idol plays. Also, shout out to Jay West. I'm wearing his merch, the humble pie. He sent me this shirt. The back says you need a slice. So just wanted to rep that for him. Cool.
So how was that first night in the game for you?
I don't remember. It was fun.
Okay.
Knew that I was going to be a fire tender overnight. Again, because I played it before, and I knew that I wasn't really going to be sleeping, and I really like fire. So I don't think I slept more than 20 minutes that first night. I laid down, but it is what it is.
So I'm curious, you talked to me how, like, you, Chad, and Jessica, well, you locked something in with Chad and locked something in Jessica individually that first day. Talk to me about Alyson.
I automatically felt really good with her, but I don't think we had like a real conversation until the next day. And I remember saying, what?
Day 2?
Yeah, day 2. I remember saying in one of my confessionals, like, exactly what I just said. I felt good with her, but I need to talk to her. And she didn't say anything to me first, which I always want people to like come to me first. So she was the only one who I was like super closely working with, who I said something to first. Mm-hmm. I was like, girl, I want to be with you forever. And she was like, marriage? I was like, no, you're engaged. And she said, I'm always looking for another. But she was like, I agree. So you and me. No, wait. Was that after? I think we set no, okay, it's coming back to me. We set a 4 with our core 4 of me, her, Jess, and Chad. And then I was like, what about a 3? And that's when we said me, her, and Jess. And then she's like, and 2? Like me and her? And I was like, yeah. So we both kind of finalized that. I also said in a confessional once that she would be the only one in the game at that point that I would be fine losing to. I was like, if she and I made it to the end, I would be okay with losing to her.
So you bring Aliana, Chad, and Jess form the core 4 that second day. How do you how are you feeling about that group of people?
I'm feeling amazing because every single one of them wanted me to be their number one. So I am feeling set. And I think even within that, I had two threes with me, Allie, and Jess. And I think there was one with me, Chad, and Jess. I honestly don't remember. But even more so, I felt comfortable with Chad because I felt like me and him, if need be, could have gone with some of the boys. And so I felt that the people who I had with me were going to offer me options. So I was feeling very ready.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those options because it sounds like you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're not betting everything on this group of four. What about Juan, Andrew, Kobe, Deborah, Jay West? What's going on with them?
Liked them all. I liked them all, and I felt like they all liked me. Um, that's why I felt good in this game. But I always fell back on, if there's ever a route I need to take, I know I always have this four. And as numbers dwindle, four is a great number to be a part of. But I did have Jay West wanting to be my number one and wanting me to be his number one. And I believed him. Juan and Allie and I had talked about a trio. That was a legitimate option for me. I felt like I made an individual connection with Colby at one point where like game recognizes game and it would be fun to work together. I feel like I always want that to happen in games and it never happens. Like there's always at least one person who maybe we're not going to be in a group together, but man, I wish that we could just sneak our way through. He would have been fun for that. And then Andrew, I felt a good bond with, and I knew that he was less of a gamer and would have been loyal. And one on one with Juan, I love him, and um, I really wish that our stories could have been different together in this game. And Deb, if I think back to, it's not really Lachey's question of when did I feel on the bottom, because I wasn't on the bottom. But if the question was when did I feel the most nervous, it honestly was when we were voting for Deb, for the sole reason of what if she somehow doesn't want to vote Jay West with us and got their beads and is going to be safe and is going to vote for one of us. I don't know why I felt like she would have voted for me, because I felt like I had the least amount of connection with her at that point. I don't know if that's true. That was just my perception. But I don't think she would have. I think I was, because I didn't have that sense of a strong connection, she probably wouldn't have thought of me, and she probably would have gone for Allie or Jess. So maybe I would have been fine. But yeah, that was my thoughts on the orange people.
So before the first immunity challenge, can you rank the players in your tribe from most to least important to your game?
Oh my gosh, that's rude. Has everybody done that?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. When is this? Like day
Right
two?
before the first immunity challenge.
Before the first immunity challenge, which we lost. Most important to my game. I should have made a list of all the people. Let's see. Hold on.
And that's the top three will be easier.
Yeah, but hold on. I'm going to make a list and then tell you. Ooh, this is tough. Okay.
here to ask the hard-hitting questions.
Yes, for what? Go for it.
This is for the journalist career I did not pursue.
Are you? You should be.
I mean, I did the student newspaper all 4 years of college and was a writer for that, but realized not for me.
Oh gosh, this is okay. I'm almost done. How many are there? 7? 1, 2, 3, 4,
There's
5.
8.
Well,
So
not including me.
Aliana, Chad, Jessica, Juan, Andrew, Kobe, Deborah, Jay West.
Oh my gosh, this is hard. Oh, I don't like this. Okay. All right. 1, 2. Oh, where's Kobe? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my gosh. Poor Andrew. Okay. If it was a looks contest, he'd be at the top. Okay.
Jay West is ready for your 9 number ones.
I know. It's not about that. I need people to get over that shit. It's actually starting to get annoying. Okay. So, order of importance to my game going into first challenge. Chad, Jess, Allie, Juan, Jay West, Colby, Deb, Andrew.
All right. So you had that first immunity challenge. It does not go well. You will lose that challenge. This is the man down challenge where you carry someone in a stretcher and do a bunch of stuff afterwards. Where are you in this challenge?
I was the one being carried and doing the puzzle at the end. And Juan and I were debating back and forth who should be the puzzle maker and the blindfolded puzzle doer. Because we both equally felt not confident in doing the puzzle, but I think it was only like 9 pieces, and one of the game people were like, once you see it, you'll get it. So I was thinking, like, maybe it's not that hard. I don't think the carrying thing was a big difference because I'm pretty sure we weighed the same. And but I stuck with it. I was like, let's try it. Let's do it. And also, I knew I wasn't going to be the first boot. Sorry. And then it was close. I wasted too much time with the puzzles on the table because originally I did want to put them on the ground, but wasted too much time trying to get the picture part up, laying on the table. And then once it was all laid out on the grass, I looked over and Isaiah was making quick progress with them in the slats. So I was like, screw this, we need to solve it in the slats as is. So I had Juan grab pieces as opposed to solving on the grass and then putting in. I had him grab the piece and put in the slats. I also felt like he would have been more brave with just quickly going for it, and which I agree with. So I think I was 2 or 3 pieces behind from us getting that win. However, I was fine with losing that because I'm not a puzzle person, but if I was instantly seen solving that puzzle, that wouldn't have been a good look for me. I don't need to be seen too threatening, so I was actually fine with losing that puzzle.
Who did you want to have be the first boot from your tribe? Was there anyone you were targeting at this point?
No, I didn't want it to be Jay West because I knew that he wanted to work with me. And so that's why it was shitty that kind of just I think it was overnight or that morning. I don't remember. That he just kind of started talking too much, and I couldn't not. I couldn't save him at that point because too many of my core four were already talking about him being the vote. And selfishly, I also didn't want Deb to be the first vote because I don't like the looks of that. Like, I've done that in a game before. I've seen it done in games before, and I don't like it. That the appearing to be oldest player is voted out first. I just don't like it. And
so, I mean, if not Deborah, if not Jay West, who?
I don't know, but I knew that I wasn't going to be the one to say a name because at that point I felt pretty good with everybody. So I knew it wasn't going to be me. I had a feeling it wasn't going to be one of my four, so I was just going to see what happened and not take any leadership role in that moment.
Were you expecting it to be?
Because I wouldn't have in that time either.
Were you expecting it to be a 5-4 vote?
Yeah, because
That's when
that's when we got Deb in on the vote. And so that's what I expected to happen.
Why not bring in Juan Andrew Kobe?
I think at that point they could have gathered beats together and saved. If they knew it was Jay West, they could have saved him. And then, I mean, Jay West was better for my game than Deb was on a one-on-one level. But if they had used beats to save him, then it would have been fireworks. I mean, it was a little fireworks, but I don't know. You can't tell everybody everything you're doing.
Your tribe wins the next tribal immunity challenge. Janai goes home, and then you have the Reelfoot leftovers challenge, where you're kind of tossing the meat bags on the floating platform before moving on to a puzzle. I can't remember exactly, and this does not go well for your tribe. You're going back to trouble.
Sorry, the one that we won, that was the snake one, right?
We carry the snake while running. Yes.
Mm-hmm. That was good. I had some winning strategies for us that definitely helped. Being a track person, some of our sprinting workouts were to jog the corners, sprint the straightaway, jog the corner, sprint the straightaway, and that's exactly what I suggested. And so that was what we did. And as soon as we started, Deb, Allie, and Jess dropped so that we could just book it. And that's when I got that massive bruise on my arm because I was holding it and I think it got pinched in between two of the wood pieces. And it actually really, really hurts right now. I still have, yeah, the bruise is gone, but I have this like hard lump under my skin, and it's sensitive. I don't know what it is. I don't know, some buildup of something. But I think I'll wait until like mid next month. If it still hurts, then I'll go get it checked out. I don't have insurance anymore since I quit my job. So
it's like call Dr. Stan.
Yeah. Unless I start to turn blue, it is what it is. But yeah, I really like that challenge. Just wanted to shout out that I definitely was a good part of winning that challenge. And that was one of the ones.
What about the next challenge?
The next one wasn't fair. And obviously afterwards, production was like, I heard them while we were like walking up the hill. They were like, well, next time we need to tell them they can only take a certain amount of blocks. Yeah, you think? Because poor Deb doing her best swimming and grabbing what she could. She did amazing, but Rob going out and just.
So you're talking about that last reward challenge?
Oh, that wasn't that one?
No. So this is where you have everyone's like holding on a platform and you're tossing the beanbags on the platform.
Oh, JK. You said water, or maybe you did it and I just forgot that. Oh yeah, that one was hard. I knew that would be a struggle. I've done one of those in the past, and it was really, really hard to. I mean, we didn't. No, I'm also thinking of another one. Damn.
Well,
I was thinking of stacking blocks. We weren't doing that.
Yeah.
We were throwing the. Okay, I'm here now. I'm here. I absolutely hated that fate left it to me to get that last beanbag on for a little bit, because Chad at one point was like, you have to get this. We don't have time to rotate. And I tried. I was trying, but I'm not good at throwing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish after the second chance I was like, nope, let's go, switch. But we started that puzzle and we had quick momentum. But it's okay. We lost.
So you lose the challenge. This is the round where Deborah goes home.
Right.
It seems like after that first vote, your alliance with Chad, Justin, Elliot's kind of exposed, right? Because Jay was like, hey, there's this group of 5. I don't want to be part of it. What are you doing this round to, I guess, get the vote on Deborah and also kind of make Andrew, Colby, and Juan feel good about you?
I think I didn't have to do much, because I think that round everybody collectively was like, we need to vote for her now. Because while she was a great asset in a lot of challenges, there were definitely more physical ones that we were seeing coming up where it might have been more of a hindrance to, and that's ultimately why we voted for her. So at that point, I felt good with my 4. I also had the night after we voted Jay West out, I had a conversation with Juan that made me like feeling because I did feel bad that he felt bad about being left out, and he was kind of just like, what the heck, like, and I apologized and we hugged. So I felt like I had repaired what I could with him. I felt like I did a good job throughout the game of individually repairing relationships after voting. Like, yes, they know that I voted against them in a way, but I was able to explain myself and genuinely wanted to explain myself. I don't remember what your question was, but yeah, we voted Deb.
The next challenge is sumo at. The next challenge is sumo at sea. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I was gonna say she had such a fun exit. Obviously, it's not fun to exit, but her threats. I'm coming for you. It's too good. I was a little nervous to have her back because I think she would have actually come for us. But again, I don't think it would have affected Alyson. I think it would have affected the others more than it would have affected me.
How was sumo at sea for you? Who'd you go up against?
Sumo at sea was going into any water game, any game that has water. That has been my biggest fear. I guess it was only survival challenge in this, but when Juan was reading the description of the challenge, I was freaking out because it's just so scary. I don't want to be pushed, and also I'm okay in the water, but I don't even like going under without blocking my nose. I don't think I've ever opened my eyes underwater. I need to practice that. But
To be fair, I don't think I want to practice that in an actual lake.
Not that scummy little pond, no way. But I was terrified going into that. Had a little training session with Chad, and I said this like 2 years ago. If I ever had to do one of these challenges, my tactic would be to scream. I was just, whoever I was up against, I was just going to scream to try to distract them, maybe try to tickle them, or just like crawl and trip them. But we were on our knees, and I had something in my hand, so I couldn't tickle and I couldn't crawl. But I screamed, but it was kind of a half-ass like roar, and also I'm terrified. It was funny. But my first battle was with Sam, and poor girl, I have never seen the look of fear in anybody's eyes as I had hers. I literally, I barely talked to her in this entire process, but I will always remember her beautiful eyes. And it was a fair battle at first, but then I got her down, and I was like, oh, I have this. And so I kept apologizing. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Are you ready? I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And like when I said I'm ready, I was like, "Are you ready?" She kind of like got a little stronger, and I was like, "Oh shit!" So I dug a little deeper, and then I pushed her off, and it was really sad. That was cool that I won that, but I didn't feel good about it at all. And then my next one with Lachey, I was like, "Let's go, girl, let's do it." And I was knocked onto my back, and like a few rounds prior, Chad was against Rob, and that's what happened to him. And so Chad was just laying on his back, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll just do this, and I'll see. Oh, is it really laggy? It got laggy. It's looking for me. Okay.
You're good.
So I did that, and while I was laying on my back, I was thinking, like, should I try to get up? Should I try to do anything else, or just lay here? I should have laid there longer, because she was actually getting tired, I think, of just pushing my body. But then as soon as I got, I was expecting to lose that one. It was a fun battle, but yeah. And then Jess pulling out that win, was so good. That for a tribe was probably one of the most fun wins we had. It was really fun.
So, end of day 3, there are 14 players left in the game. I'm curious, how much is a swap factoring into how you're playing?
Say that again? Sorry.
How much is the threat of a swap factoring into your strategy and how you're playing?
I was nervous the entire time of a swap because I was nervous about who I was going to get swapped with and what they had already told their other people. Because my mindset on the people that I knew, I just kind of kept it a secret. If nobody asked me about it, I wasn't going to mention it. Mm-hmm. Nobody asked me. I think the only time somebody asked me what games I played was Jeremy asking me when we merged and we were painting the flag. And I think I only told her 2 or 3 games. So they're not asking, I'm not telling. So I was just nervous about a swap because I was nervous about what I would have to come clean with and how that would affect the relationships I had with people going forward. But I felt with all of the people on Orange, I felt I would have been good with if I swapped with any of them at that point. And felt confident that I could have quickly made a relationship with the purple in order to protect me and whoever the other orange people I was with was. I'm really glad we didn't swap, but I was prepared. I brought the 2 color sports bras.
So day 4, you have an individual immunity challenge because both tribes are going to the tribal council. Chad is going to win from your tribe. Why does Kobe go out here?
First of all, I was so close. I didn't get the beanbag on that table, but I think I would have. I don't know if my number was his. I think he guessed. Do you know what his number was? 420, 424, or
I don't
something.
recall.
And I think
450.
Don't you know what? Just kidding.
He told me. It's just not one of those things I like kept in my mind.
It's fine. I'm kidding. The actual number was like 440 or something, 442 or something. But I guessed 460 or 465. So I think it actually would have been really close. So that would have been cool if me, the very last, it literally was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and my beanbag missed. So I didn't have a chance to retry it. But that would have been cool if I won that one. Okay, and then next Colby goes. Because it was the four of us.
7 people left.
Yeah, the 4 of us won, and Andrew. I think. Why did he go? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, why'd you vote Kobe?
I don't remember. I mean, we had our 4, and Allie and I felt good with Juan, and I think Juan and Andrew were appearing close, so, or maybe it was the silly cryptex that like people were nervous about, that he had something, but I knew he didn't. But the vote landed on Colby, and I told him. I couldn't lie to his cute little face. It was while we were still at camp, and I think it was just, he was so sincere and like Alyson level with, and I was like, I think the majority of the votes are going on you. And then he scrambles, and Allie, I don't think was ever going to budge, but she made it seem like it at Tribal and some of the talks before. But this was a Tribal where myself just sat and watched and listened, and I love those moments because I didn't start it, but I kind of did by telling Colby that it was going to be him, and then that caused his fight or flight, as you should fight for your life. But started it, and then I walked away and just watched. Coming out of that Tribal, I think I did say to, because me, Juan, and Andrew were together at one point, I was like, that was really good for us guys to be watching. So that was that. And then that was 2 people who were no longer eating my candy.
Wait, so it was you, it was Kobe. Who else was in on the candy?
Deb and Juan.
Okay.
So going to merge, the candy was mine and Juan's. The only, because Purple were unable to ration and ate all their candy before merge. Come
on. Well, you bank on the merge feast, right? Isn't that what you do?
To have food, but not candy. There wasn't going to be more candy. I saved candy way too long, actually. I have like Halloween candy that from like last year that I should probably throw away. I do keep things for too long, but
I mean, candy has a long shelf life.
Exactly.
So one other thing that happens this round is Chad asks everyone to hand him their beads so he can hold on to them.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about that?
I was fine with it because then I knew that Colby wouldn't have beads to save himself, and I knew that there was going to be no other vote that could have, no bigger group of people that would have got one of my 4 out with no beads in play. I knew that the 4 of us were safe. But I was one of the last people to agree to it because I didn't want to seem ready for that. So I just kept it chill and was like, yeah, that's fine. Which, smart move. Not smart for Colby, and he knew that. He didn't want to do it. He was the only one. I felt bad that he was the only one who didn't want to do it, and I knew you had to be.
So Kobe goes out. Chad holds on to his bead. You have the Outcast challenge, which you win. You beat the Outcast tribe, so no one from the Outcast is coming back in the game.
Yeah, that was crazy. The wind, man, really messed us up because Andrew got flames within seconds, and then again and again and again. And then Juan's brilliant mind was like, let's make a stand and just put the flame up higher. And we were yelling at whoever was behind us, Nate or I don't know who else, because they were walking around giving commentary. And at one point we were all like, shh, no, like, don't tell them what we're doing. It was good. That I did realize that I felt like there were going to be 2 people coming back in. And after that challenge, I was like, we just diminished one of their chances from coming in. But there's probably going to be 1 more. So I felt good that there wasn't going to be any bad blood for me coming back into the game. But did feel a little like, damn, they're almost done. Because it's really, really cool to win your way back into a game. But yeah, that was that challenge.
With 12 people left, are you still thinking a swap may happen, or are you just like, I don't know? I think it's just the merge is the next big point.
With 12 people left, I felt like that would have been a fine spot to swap, and maybe we go down to 10, and then the last Outcast person comes in. So I wasn't writing it out that a swap could happen, but still glad it didn't.
Because you have your next challenge, which you'll lose, right? This is the balls challenge. Where you're trying to maneuver balls through vertical and horizontal table mazes. And so you're going back to tribal. You have your core 4, and then there's Andrew and Juan. What are you doing here?
This was crazy. I said this to us as a group, like, and I meant it, and it was true that Inada at camp, we were fun, cohesive. Even our strategy talk was organized. Like, we weren't mean in any way. But then bring us to tribal and watch out. We will bring it. It was like 2 different groups of people. It's crazy. So we had our 4, and then we're Juan or Andrew. And the pros for Andrew were that we knew he would be loyal, and the pros for Juan were that Allie and I had something with him. So, like, I guess personal pros. And I genuinely liked both of them and wanted to work with both of them. And the cons, I think, for Juan just outweighed anything else because I felt like he would have been more of a threat to my game and the core 4's game in a merge situation because he would be more social and be able to make newer connections quicker, I think, than Andrew. And that's kind of, I think, how we landed on Juan. and I wanted to be the one to tell Andrew that we were voting for Juan. I think I was. Um, and but I think I was too late. I never suggested like, hey, don't give him the feed. I thought about it. When we had our conversation and he walked away, I was like, should I tell him to not give him his feed? But I was like, nah, this is his game. I can't dictate everything. But obviously, you want people to do what you want, so I should have said it. But I think at that point he already did, so it didn't matter. But I got the full answer while we were walking to tribal because I told Chad, like, I told Chad that I knew Juan had 2 beads, and then he was getting nervous, like, well, what if Andrew gives him nuts?
How'd you know Juan had 2 beads?
Andrew told me that Dad gave him her bead. So then there was a confessional, very brief, not a confessional, a clip, whatever, of Chad sitting on the what's it called, hammock, and me going over to him, being like, "You still have that extra bead, keep it," because Juan wanted it back, wanted it in one way. So I think maybe we were thinking of like drawing sticks, and what if we got that? Then we would have had 4 beads. But so he was like, you need to find out if Andrew gave him his bead. So, and I was like, I don't think he did. But then very last minute, while we were walking down that muddy path to tribal, I asked Andrew and he said yes. And I was like, Andrew, why did you do that? Now I need to make a choice whether I'm going to tell the other 3 people and then we're going to vote you out. And he was like, damn.
Do you think Andrew did not realize the ramification that he was going home?
No. And that's exactly why he just sacrificed himself. So while we were dinging the gong, I was in the back with Andrew and Juan, and I told Juan, I was like, I know you have the 3 beads. I'm with you. And then he was like, what? And so then the tribal happens and it gets wild, and Andrew feels bad. Oh no, I might lose power. There's a thunderstorm starting here.
Well, I mean, worst is the worst. If we lose power, we can always pick it up next time. We'll do a part 1, part 2.
Oh no,
let's hope not.
I can't keep this in my brain anymore. Anyway, Aaron's just so distraught with the fact that Juan was gonna play the beads and Chad was gonna go home because of Juan making a cool move, but he didn't want it to be Chad going home because of that also? I don't know. So he was like, just send me. Which Juan was like, what the hell, man? Which I agree. Like, that was your person. And they're just like, never mind, I'm done. And that was really sad, tribal in general, just because we don't want anybody to go. Like, genuinely liked everybody that was left. There was no pecking order that I wanted to happen in Orange. It just was, we lost, what are we going to do? And genuinely, I wanted Andrew to be the one to win his way back into the game. I think we all did. Orange.
Were you tempted at all to throw the next immunity challenge?
I wasn't. Allie wanted to, or wanted to ask us to. But that's not my MO. I've never been in a game where I felt like I wanted to, because you honestly never know what will happen. What if
Juan can have another idol.
Yeah, what if there was another idol and Juan found it? I'm not taking that risk of um, being vulnerable. And I felt again after Andrews wrote out individually, I felt okay with Juan. So it didn't feel like I would have been the target anyway. I don't know where I'm going, but no, I'm really glad that we won that challenge, and I was genuinely looking forward to continuing to work with Juan.
So you already kind of mentioned you wanted Andrew to come back from the battle back. Was there anyone else you wanted to see come back or not want to see come back?
I would have loved to play with Trav, but at that point I didn't know what he and Lachey had already told their purple people about the out connections. So I was nervous to have him come back in and possibly blow something up for me. And kind of had the same feeling towards Nina, just because I had never met her before. I didn't know. I knew she was an awesome person, but I didn't know how she played in games. And I think anybody else, I don't know what Jay West would have done. How mad he would have been at me personally. I don't know. But I'm happy that Nina came back.
Sorry. So Nina comes back in the game. You are merged at 11. What is your plan of attack for this merge? What did you want to do, or how did you want those merges to progress?
I felt confident in myself because I felt like I was one of the fastest people left. So I was like, give me some quick back and forth challenges. Like, get this.
Jay West noting that he was going to come back gunning for you.
See? But I was just a little bit nervous, but trying not to focus on it too much about, again, what I just said, like what the people that I knew, how they would be towards me. I just was what would happen. But, you know, having a core 4 is a very powerful thing, so I felt good with the orange that we had left. And personally, I felt good with Juan. Whether that was true on his part or not, I don't know. But I was very happy to make merge and eat.
How was the merge feast?
It was very good. I said that I wanted butter noodles, and we got some. And that meat was really good that we had in the sauce.
So, with Nina coming back in, your tribe theoretically is a minority, right? Because it's 6 original purple, 5 original orange. Talk to me about Nina, because this is going to be a very important connection to make that's going to help define the merge.
She came to me and she came to me and I was open to everything she was saying. She did try to strong a little bit, I think. And she was like, give me 2 people who you want me to protect, and I'll give you 2 people as mine that I want you to protect. I didn't want to just come out and say that right away because I have to get, like, I think I can trust you, but I'm not going to tell everything. So I told her Allie. I wanted to keep Jess to myself more. But I knew that Allie would be seen by the purple more than Jess would. So that's why I told her Allie. And she told me Geraldine, which is fine. Another lady. And she told me, like, within that conversation too, she was like, I don't know if you have a number one, but I can be that for you. And I didn't give her an answer. I was like, thank you. Because she's not dumb. Obviously, she knew I had a number one at that point. You know, it's what, day 5, day 4? What was it?
This is day 5.
Yeah, obviously I have a number one at that point. But yeah, that was my first conversation with Nina. But I was feeling good after that because I was like, okay, I think this could be something positive for me, not really negative.
Yeah, looking at the purple.
It was
go ahead.
I was gonna say, and right off the bat, once we all merged and were painting, doing the sheltering, which I said I didn't really want to do anything, and I didn't really do anything. I didn't actually want to do hard work, but also I didn't want to be someone telling anybody what to do, especially at their own camp. So I just kind of wandered around a lot. But I feel like I was going to say something else, but maybe not. Okay, go ahead.
Looking at the purple tribe, they actually kind of have similar dynamics to your own, right? There's a.
I remember it's about the purple tribe, because right when we got there and we were like doing all the setup, they were all just going off and talking to each other like right away, and obviously they're going to because they had the returnee player from their tribe come back. So that was really cool for us Orange to see who was talking to who, and there was speculation that Rob had Sam's bead. I don't know. I never really followed that, but I felt good in Nina having that conversation with me, Purple pairing off, and Orange was just kind of like, "Hey, thanks for having us at your camp." Okay, I'm done. That was my thought.
So purple kind of has a similar dynamic to your orange tribe, right? There is a core 4 of Brandon, Lachey, Isaiah, and Geraldine. And then Rob is a bit on the outs, right? It's similar to your core 4, then Juan maybe being a bit on the outs. Was that a dynamic you picked up on, and what did you do with it?
Yes, I got that Lachey and Isaiah were tight, and Geraldine seemed to always be with them too. And then I think Isaiah and Brandon were close too. I don't know, but yes, I picked up on that was a 4. But I kind of felt like our 4 was actually tighter than their 4 for whatever reason. I don't know. Mm-hmm. That's just my perception. And then Rob seemingly to be on the outs was fine for me because he said that he wanted to work with me. And that's when I told Orange, like, okay, I gotta tell you guys that I know Rob, not really, but I know him, and so I think we can use him. And that's exactly what Purple thought about Juan too, that, you know, he was on the outs, they could use him too. And then Nina coming back, honestly, it was fine for me. Cool, they had a core 4, but the other 2 wanted me, so I wasn't worried.
So Chad wins immunity. You have really the rest of the 5th day and the morning of the 6th day. Yes.
Also, it wasn't shown. You'll see it maybe if they make episodes, whatever. But I was so close to winning that challenge. The hold the bar, push and pull. That was a really cool, surprising moment for me. I think it was an hour and 15 minutes that we went. I wasn't expecting that, but I felt so strong, and I feel tired. And the most tiring part was not letting my arms get too low, but like I wasn't shaky, I wasn't feeling fatigued. It was just like staying in a comfortable spot was
Mhm.
difficult. And then I went too high, and the bar, it was supposed to stay straight, and the bar, I went too high and my wrists were like this, so then the bar was like this, and so they DQ'd me. um, Meanwhile, over there like shaking and shaking, and I really do think I could have outlasted him if I hadn't had gone up too high. And so been a win for me, and then I would have tied for the record with Rob. But it's fine. I'm glad he won that because I knew that I was going to be safe, and he could have potentially been a target for Purple to go for. So I was actually glad that he won that. And he did tell me if I needed it, he would give me his 2 beads. So I felt like I had an idol also if I needed it.
Yeah,
I
so I guess
yeah.
what made you feel was the potential of an idol is that what made you feel safe, or
I felt safe with the relationships that I made and the people I was with. And so I wasn't nervous that the first vote was going to be me. I was more nervous about it being one of my orange people. But I'm glad that Chad won because I think he could have been that person for them.
yeah? So talk me through the decision to give Jessica the beads, as well as coming up with Lachey as your target that you're going to vote for.
Yes. So we can owe this to Nina, and we can owe this to Nina wanting to work with me, because she told me straight up that they were voting for Jess, and that the people who they thought we would least likely vote for were Lachey and Isaiah. So, um, like I said to my people and to in my final tribal, I presented it to Orange in a way that wasn't like, I know this is their plan, but it made sense. Everything I was saying made sense. In that Chad was safe. We had heard Allie's name and my name, but I had confirmed it with enough people that I was a decoy, and I questioned if Allie was a decoy too. So Jess was the only name that wasn't brought up. Oh, and they wanted to keep Juan because they thought he would work with them.
Mm-hmm.
So that left Jess. And so I don't remember how we went about deciding between Lachey and Isaiah. But we were originally going to vote for Isaiah, and I wish that was the vote. But very last minute, Chad got his sense of control in and switched it to Lachey because he was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm watching their body language, and I feel like it's. I don't know if he actually thought that, or if he just wanted to keep Isaiah for himself and was nervous that we were voting out a guy, not a woman. Um, so Lachey went. And it was a great moment for Orange to come on top. Meanwhile, Nina and I knew the whole time that Jess would be safe because that's where we are going to throw our beads on. And she was like, yeah, I'm down to fuck up Purple. So fine by me. And that evened us out, Purple versus Orange.
Yeah, and so this next round, Isaiah's going to win immunity. There's discussion of rocks. Are we going to go to 5-5 standoff?
Nobody's going to rocks. I'm not going to rocks. Who was going to rocks? I don't ever remember anybody actually talking about going to rocks. So I don't even remember. Isaiah went. No.
So
Who
Isaiah wins immunity.
won?
You're going to vote for Juan, and he's going to go out. Well, Aliana will catch 3 votes.
Right. Yeah. If Juan won immunity, then I think Isaiah would have gone there. And was Allie the vote for purple at that point?
So Rob, Brandon, and Isaiah will vote for Aliana, but Nina and Geraldine kind of strike a deal with you, Jessica, and Aliana. If I'm not incorrect.
Right. So I think at that point we just lost Lachey, and us ladies were like, we need to keep the women strong. There's only been 2 female winners of Reelfoot. We need a female winner. And yeah, I'm all for the girl power. So that was the moment where we were like, no, it's time to blur the color lines. And so us ladies, and we told Chad too, voted Rob, I think. Voted
Rob,
for,
so Rob knew but still voted Aliana?
Okay. Yeah, I think he was just playing dumb then. Yeah. And it sucked that it was Juan, but I think Orange, I was convinced that he was telling the truth. Maybe I was just the hopeful, naive one. I think I was. But we were just not completely sure that Juan was actually going to stay with us. So at that point, it was like, why keep taking this risk? Like, he can be the one to go now, I suppose. Because it wasn't going to be Chad. And then I don't know why it wasn't Brandon, but I think we were just nervous about Juan not being with us.
I assume what happened is that you're trying to find a name that both Gerald and Nina and then you, Jessica, and can settle on, and they're not giving up Brandon.
Yeah, I think that was it. Because we didn't want to give up Chad, they didn't want to give up Brandon, so it left. And then nobody wanted to go for Rob. So it left. Yeah. Sorry, Juan. Next time.
So Juan goes out. Rob is going to win the gross food challenge, so he'll begin his immunity streak.
So gross. I don't know why I actually thought going into this game, I was like, I wonder if we eat cat food, because that would be a good gross food to eat.
Now, you have a cat, BB-8. Have you ever just tried eating her food?
Over there. So yeah, I give them that food. That food that I ate, I give them all the time. I'm glad it was the gravy kind and not the pate, because that would have been worse, I think. And I don't like sauerkraut. I think it's disgusting. But I like enveloped the cat food into the sauerkraut, and I ate one bite, and then I looked and I was like, oh, they're almost done. I put another one in my mouth and I spit it out. That was gross. Ugh, I wish Jess won that. She really wanted that win. She was so good. She was so fast. But that thing is nasty. I was burping up sauerkraut for a day.
Not even the candy could wash it out.
I ate the candy, but anytime I burped, it tasted like sauerkraut.
So,
and I burped a lot.
This is the vote where Aliana is being targeted.
Wait, can you say that again? Sorry.
This is the vote where Aliana goes
again?
This is the vote where Aliana will get 6 votes and she'll go home, and it'll be you and Jessica and Aliana in the minority voting for Brandon. Talk to me about this round.
I knew that I just needed to swing Nina. Like, she on her own. She could have, but I haven't listened to anybody's podcast. Sorry, people. I don't have the attention span. I don't want to hear everybody talk about me. And we all played the game. I'm not listening to them. So maybe these things were already discussed by you, but I'm.
Who cares? This is your time.
Theories, but saying I'm giving my theories, but maybe the actual answers are already out there because they already talked about them, but I don't know them. But Chad, like, knew he had me, and that is true. But he was so ready and willing to not really fight, I think, in my mind, for our core four. He quickly saw where the votes were going to go and was like, okay. Because he went along with Allie going. And if I had just convinced Nina, and if Chad had stuck with us, then Allie wouldn't have gone. Right? I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Everybody was willing. No, that's another thought I want to throw out here. So yeah, I tried really hard to convince him. He was like, "Well, I Rob." I was like, "No, just do this one on your own. Like, yeah, you guys are doing everything together, kind of, but do this one on your own." Because I don't know how crucial Brandon was to her game. Maybe I think they might have had a 3 with Geraldine, but it wasn't as real as a 3 that she wanted with me and Rob. So, Allie goes and
Real fast. Can we
what?
talk about can we talk about this 3 with you, Nina, and Rob? When did that kind of come together? Because you mentioned connecting with Rob at the merge, you had this connection with Nina at the merge. When does the 3 of you kind of come together and say we are a trio? Final 3, maybe?
Maybe at the end of that first day of merge or the
So
next day.
end of day 6.
Yeah, definitely. I think it must have happened the end of the first day of merge, because I had, my one-on-ones with them, and I was very open with both of them and positive I felt about the other. And I don't remember how it got solidified.
Because one way, maybe this is a bad way to view the merge, is that you had options and Nina and Rob took out your options.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say after, but you took it. Fine, I'll say it now. I feel like I had so many options, but people were taking out all of my paths, which as they should. But they took out my people, but they never wanted to take me out, and I made it to the end. So, did you really do your job? Because
I mean, if you had if you could like starting with the merge, like I get the feeling that you would have loved. Would you have loved to sit with with Jessica and Aliana at final 3? Was that your ideal, or no?
that would have been really cool, and we would have solidified a female winner. There's no way the 3 of us were going to make it to the end together. There's no way. I don't think. So I was genuinely open. I had people, but I was open to whatever way I got to the end was the way who was there.
Which I think you had to do because with the way this merge plays out, your Orange Tribe doesn't ever really have the numbers to just single-handedly dictate the flow of the game.
Yeah. But I was still in with the purple people that I knew it wasn't going to be me. And I was still in enough larger groupings of numbers that I still had paths. But yeah, losing Allie was an eye opener for me in that they care about me, but they don't really because they're still getting rid of my people and wanting their people to stay. So they're trying to use me, but I still survived.
Yeah. You still have your bead, I believe. Are you trying to do anything with that? Because it expires at Final 8.
We don't have 3 beads. Like Orange, we only had 2 beads left. Idol, we only had 2 beads. So there's nothing that we could have done. But Nina did tell me that after the beads were done, there would be a new advantage of a stamp. So whatever that was, we didn't know. She told me she didn't know. I don't know if she actually knew. So I knew something else was coming. But I wasn't worried about the beads.
So with Aliana going out, and you're in the minority of voting Brandon, why did you target Brandon just because you thought he would be the one people would be okay flipping on?
Yeah, we didn't. So who was left? Why didn't we go for Isaiah? I think they just weren't ready to go for Isaiah yet. Yeah, because I was pitching to Nina because I had a conversation with Rob that Rob said he would be open to Brandon and Isaiah, maybe not this round. So I pitched that to Nina, and so landed on Brandon. And I think just collectively as a whole, as Orange Girls, didn't really make strong connections with him in a moving forward in my kind of way. So I voted for him.
Yeah, I think you voted for him several times. Yeah. So Final 8. Rob wins his second immunity. This is going to be the Isaiah vote. This is going to be the Isaiah vote where Geraldine and Isaiah are blindsided. How does this come about for you?
I mean, he was my next obvious target, and for Orange as well. But Rob and Nina came to me like, do you want to do a blind side? And like, I was already thinking of Isaiah, but I think I said Geraldine, because like, that's one of yours. So they were like, no, Isaiah. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And so Chad was on board with that. Jess was on board with that. And Brandon knew too.
Yes.
I mean, Brandon saw the threat level, I think, of Isaiah. So even, like I said, I felt like our core 4 was closer than theirs because, well, I guess you can equate Chad and Brandon to flipping for one of their people. Because Chad didn't really try to save Allie. He was okay with the game. But I had one conversation with Isaiah before the vote. He was sitting on the stump, and I was like standing talking to him, and it was like we were talking about how we were so excited to actually get to play together now, and I was like, yeah. And I surprised myself in how you really are able to compartmentalize what you know you want to do in the game and the person, because I love Isaiah. But while I was talking to him and while I realized how relaxed he was, I knew that he didn't see this coming. So I was internally like, this is good. This is going to work. He's not nervous, because I think he would have asked me. He would have appeared a little nervous towards me, and he wasn't. So I felt that what I wanted to happen was going to happen. I felt bad that I liked the guy. But
were there ever serious like conversations with the two of you working together, or were you just kind of dancing around each other in the merge, just kind of on opposite sides?
I think in the beginning it was kind of like we might have said, if I hear your name, I'll let you know type thing. And we said we really hope that we get to work together. And he spoke on it more to me, I think, that he would try to protect me. And my name never came up from any of the purple people or orange people. He knew his coming up. So, but we never had a lot of one-on-one, like, what are you and I? We never had any deals. We never had any real, just kind of like, we'll protect each other. But I knew I couldn't go very far with him. And I was also okay with doing a blindside on him because I never had any real deal.
So Isaiah and Geraldine are blindsided. Go ahead.
Nothing. Sorry, I was like, an hour and 40 minutes already.
I like I told you, I enjoy digging into how the rounds play out. So Isaiah goes out. It's a 6-2 blindside. This is now the final 7 vote. This is the challenge. Rob's going to his 30 immunity challenge in a row. Chad is going to step out for some unknown advantage relating to the stamps. And once again, your core 3, I guess at this point, is being targeted.
Yeah, before Chad said I'm going to step out, I was like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to step out. Because I thought maybe I would have got a vote, but even without a vote, I thought it might be cool to know what that is. But my goal in that round was to make sure Brandon didn't win. And Jess said the same thing. So I wanted to compete to at least try to beat Brandon. And it was a similar challenge in like the holding the bar out. I was standing next to Brandon and he was the third person left. I think he went out and maybe Chad and I had like 20 minutes. I don't know. 20 minutes after he went out. So I knew he was going to be decent at it. And I was like, okay, I think it could be better. So I wanted to compete to make sure that Brandon didn't win. And then when I was the third person standing, I wanted to keep going, but I had also done that challenge before, and it's really hard. Like, I made it to the 3 balls, and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So then, I also plead to Nina and Rob to not go for Jess. One of my favorites was in looking up some of these videos. I'm gonna be honest. I mostly just watched the videos that I was in, and a lot of the orange, like, fun Anata ones. Those we were so fun.
Yeah, I can't blame you.
Yeah.
I mean, I like. Let's be fair. I never went back and watched anything from my season.
Honestly, I don't think I haven't watched the final tribal. I'm not going to. I can't. So, but there's one video of Rob and Nina talking about how they go on a vote for Jess, and then I walk in, and then I'm like, "You want to vote for Jess? You're gonna lose me." And Sebastian Bash comments in it, and he's like, "Mob boss." The smile, the direct eye contact. I was like, "Thank you." It didn't work, but I fought for my people. But again, that's when I was like, fuck, everybody like is getting my people out. I still have people. But Jess going was really sad. And I cried and we had a nice hug when she went out. And I just like was hugging her and saying like, we did so good. We made it so far, which is true for like getting to 6, right? 6 or 7.
She went out in 7th, yeah.
Yeah, that's really far on day 6. Like, that's really good for pair to go that far. So it was sad, and that's again when I voted for Brandon. He's just my default. You go for my girls, I'm gonna go for you. And it was after that then that Rob and Chad were gonna go on their little movie date, and I was like, I need to say something to Rob really quick. And so that's what he said in his final travel speech, which is true. He was like, so I said something like, I feel like I don't have control right now, which is true because they kept taking out the people that I wanted to stay, but I still had people. And then I was like, and also, did you know that Geraldine and Brandon have a final 2 deal? And he was like, no, I didn't know that. So I was just trying to make it seem like helping before he went on his movie date with Chad. And it was true. Like, I had control of my game because I knew I still had all these options, but I didn't have control of the people leaving all the time. So that's what I meant by saying that. And then they go on their movie date. And then I sleep in the hammock. The hammock is mine. Isaiah's gone. The hammock is mine. Sorry.
Were you tempted to bring the hammock with the jar of candy to the Final Travel Council?
Oh, that would have been good. Just lay it out. Rob's sitting on a stump and I'm just laying in the hammock.
So
next time.
End of day 6. I mean, you've chewed through almost half the tribe in one day, right? It's a blitz pace for
that was
a merge.
crazy. That was crazy.
So, I mean, looking back at these opening 5 votes of the merge, do you think you could have had done anything different to change the outcome or the flow of the game?
The only thing I could have done is stood up Chad when he said, I think we should switch it to Lachey. Just could have been like, no, let's stick with Isaiah. I think that's the only thing changed, obviously, a lot. But other than that, I was still smooth sailing.
Small thing, your screen just went black, but I can hear you fine.
Can you see me right?
No, I can't see you at all. But I can hear you.
Oh, no. Let me plug this in. Maybe it's getting a little tired.
I mean, we're only at hour 43.
Ugh, it's too long. I have important shit that I want to talk about at the end, and
Well, time for it.
I'm losing my voice.
I mean,
can you see me?
No, I can't see you, but I can hear you.
I don't know. I mean, I turned my camera off and I turned it on.
I mean, so like if you want to fully exit, then re-enter through the link. Do you want to try that?
I suppose.
Yeah, so let's give it a shot. So
okay.
I'm gonna kick you, and then just use the link to re-enter. Sounds good?
Okay, yeah.
Well, welcome to our halftime show, or hopefully not halftime, 2/3, 3/4 show, as we wait for Alyson to rejoin and hopefully have video. Thankfully, if you are listening to this through the podcast, which I'll be able to upload someday when I fix the issues with our podcasting studio, you'll hear the audio and there won't be any issue with the video whatsoever. If you have any questions for Alyson and you want to put them in the chat, I'll make sure to ask them as when they seem appropriate. Otherwise, this is just me waiting for Alyson to return. Coming up after Alyson, we're going to have probably a brief lull. Next week, Janai. Hold on. Yay! Problem solved. Alyson, can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear you either. I can see you, but I have no sound on your side. I can't hear you. Well, good news, we solved the video problem. Bad news, we solved the audio problem. Sorry, I'm still not hearing you. See, can't hear you. Can you hear me now? Hey, want to try that one more time? I can kick you and have you go back in. Give me a thumbs up. Okay. All right. Round 3. We're doing this for those of you who are watching. Thank you for your patience. Technical difficulties, the bane of, I guess, a podcaster's existence, I suppose. That and trying to reach out to guests sometimes. Also, I totally spilled my water all over my desk early on in the conversation, so eventually I'll get paper towels and mop it up. All right. Say something? You can't hear me still? All right, you can do this. I mean, when in doubt, broken the candy. Maybe try your cell phone. Switch to that. Still can't hear you. Alison just like, wash my hands of this. You're not getting my story. This is all you're getting from me. I don't know why. Maybe I should try to open up Facebook Messenger. Want to try your cell phone? Yeah. I'll have to ask if this is the go-to candy for Alyson. Hoping she responds. All right. Round 3, round 4. Let's see how this goes. The best laid plans of mice and men. What can one do? But yeah, next week I'll be speaking with Janai on Tuesday, I believe. I was supposed to meet with Deborah, but we're rescheduling because she has some life events happening, and then it's on me to reach out and track down Jessica, Isaiah, and Samantha. Though I think Isaiah's probably be pretty busy with Survival Challenge this next week because that is airing their unfinished business. Though it does amuse me that I feel like Survival Challenge still unfinished business from Reelfoot, but hey, it's a good title, so can't blame anyone. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hear you, but this sucks because
still a little disconfident. Or that confident.
Ugh, I hate this. Can you see and hear me?
Good to know.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see you.
You can?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just so tiny. Whatever. I'm too vain to need to. Okay, that's fine.
I was like, I should have just left you when I had audio, because then we got video, no audio. That makes it far harder to interview you.
It's okay.
Which I have a very important question for you now.
Yes.
Is Nerds the top tier candy for you, or is there a better candy?
Chocolate is, but sour candy is really good to eat when you're singing, before you sing too. So this was a good candy to have over a week. The chocolate would have melted.
Yeah. So what's the best chocolate?
Peanut M&Ms are my favorite. Yep.
I mean, this is what I have on my desk, the candy dispenser of
I can't
M&Ms.
see.
So
It's so tiny. How do I make? I wish I could make this bigger. Oh well.
Aliana is asking if you have any songs you want to sing right now.
Okay. Let's see. So I just auditioned for Ghost the Musical, and surprise, I didn't get it. But this was one of the songs that we had to sing. Okay? This is so dumb. This is such a dumb song to sing, but it's stuck in my head. Sometimes you have to hear it, Sam. I need to hear it, or else you begin to fear. You begin to fear it isn't true. I'd love to hear it every day, but even just this one time, it's okay. I can live that way. The end.
Now, can you sing the Survivor Ancient Voices too?
No. I mean, I'm sure I could, but. Need water.
So before we blacked out your screen and had fun technical difficulties, it's night 6.
Long.
You're in the top 6 players left in the game. You've lost Justin and Aliana, but you still have Chad.
Yep.
Rob and Nina are with you in ways. Can you list out from the 5 players in the game who are the most to least important in your game at this point? So we have Rob, we have Chad, we have Brandon, we have Nina, and we have Geraldine.
I think the most important to my game at that point was I'm tossing between Nina and Rob. I think Rob. I think the most important to my game going to bed at that point was Rob, Chad, Nina, Geraldine, Brandon. And that is because that is who I felt would work with me to the very end. And it happened.
So I guess what about Rob made you feel so good about him at this point in time?
The way he talked to me made it feel the most sincere out of anybody else talking to me about taking me to the end. And knowing that I had a 3 with him and Nina, and knowing that Nina wanted to be with me, and that Geraldine was against Rob, kind of, and Brandon saw him as a threat, made me want to keep him because I didn't feel a real game connection with Brandon or Geraldine at that point. And Chad was with me, and I could tell was building something with Rob after their movie date. And we had a 4 with me, Rob, Chad, and Nina.
In retrospect, do you think there's something more you could have done with Brandon or Geraldine?
I tried. Brandon, no. He was my vote when I didn't want one of my ladies to go. I feel like Chad built something with him that I didn't have with Brandon.
And so I understand Chad wanting to keep him around for his game. But I never built anything with him. And Geraldine, I started to feel bad for her because, yes, she was working with Nina and Rob, but, you know, again, I don't know how much of this is true. I feel like it is, but she told me once that she felt like she was working with Rob through Nina and that she didn't really have a great connection or conversations with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot where I was going with this. But she felt like she was working well with Nina, yet Nina and Rob left her out of 2 of the votes. So you're not actually working well together, especially that far down the line. Like, if you were really a final 2, I don't think those blindsides would have been occurring. So, did you have another question? Because I was just going to say Brandon goes next.
Yeah, so I guess final question, then we can talk about Brandon going next. You don't know what's the final 2, final 3, but who were you looking at as people that you wanted to sit by at the end?
After Jess went out, I wanted to sit with Rob. I solidified it in my mind that I wanted to play the rest of the game to sit in the end with Rob. And that was because I felt most secure in him taking me to the end. And I felt like I had a good chance at beating him in the end, too. And damn, I honestly just forgot what you asked.
You answered. I was about to ask, who did you identify at this point as being people you want to sit by at the end or not by the end?
Yeah. I don't think I wanted to sit with Chad because we had played the game together too much. I didn't want to sit with Nina because I knew that she had made good moves in the merge, and has the whole coming back in angle that I didn't have. And I knew that neither Brandon or Geraldine would take me to the end, so why would I want to keep them around and lessen my chances of getting to the end?
You, Geraldine, and Rob in the final 3. Geraldine's not taking Rob.
I agree. I think I agree with that. But
yes, it would be hard.
Yeah, she would have had to. So, nerd. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. And then I do regret not telling Geraldine that Brandon was going because there's nothing she could have done. Mm-hmm. And I think they would have. Who had immunity?
So Nina's going to win immunity. You're going to help Nina win this challenge, too.
I am. You go, girl, because it was pathetic how bad we all were at the simplest puzzles. I said I'm not a puzzle person, but wow, that was really bad. And she got to the 3rd one and she was still there for a little bit, and I noticed her stick was going down. So I was like, Nina, are you almost done? And she shook her head no, and I was like, all right, your water's good. And I just kept filling her water and water.
So was it more of helping? Was it more helping Nina win or having Rob lose?
No, I didn't care if Rob won. I didn't want Brandon to win.
Gotcha.
It was more helping Nina win, and making sure nobody else won. But that would have taken time for her to go all the way back and keep filling and filling. So, and I was honestly nowhere close. I kept trying, I really did, but I just gave up at one point and was like, let's just make sure she finishes this for us.
So Geraldine and Brandon are pushing Rob, but that's that's a no-go for you. So this is a pretty straightforward vote in that case.
That's a no-go for me. And there was one instance where Brandon and Geraldine and I were together, and Brandon was like, this could be a 3. And I was like, that seems like a very fair 3. Already knowing that I was going to vote for him. And I wish I told Geraldine, because then she maybe would have been more inclined to vote for Nina with me next. But in Nina and Rob not telling Geraldine about voting for Brandon when there were only 6 people left, like, I felt bad for her. And I wish that I had told her. Because there's really nothing that would have affected my game in that. It would have been a more positive thing, but I didn't.
Especially because you will win the next immunity challenge.
Yes!
You're going to edge out Rob at the very end.
Oh my gosh, that was the most surprising win I ever could have expected because it involved throwing. But I knew that I wasn't good at it, so I was like, I'm just going to make it really small and just slow and steady it out. And I didn't look behind me once. Apparently everyone else sucked. Like, I don't know how. But
well, it felt a little arbitrary with whether the bag was on or off the little thing. It was hard to get the land too.
Maybe. And then I think once Rob and I really pulled ahead, everyone was kind of just going for broke and throwing it too far, and they weren't getting it at all. I have no idea. But I only missed once. I only not got it on the middle once. And there was one point where Rob pulled ahead of me at one point, and I was like, fuck. But then he missed at one point. Then I was ahead, and then we were even. That was a really cool one to win. And afterwards, I was like, you didn't let me win, did you? Like, you didn't lose that on purpose. He was like, no, of course not. I was like, you promise? He's like, no, why would I do that? So I won.
So you have immunity now.
Yes.
No one can write your name down. You're going to be in the final 4 no matter what.
Yep.
Nina or Geraldine, right? The
Yeah.
votes can be Geraldine, but you will push for Nina.
I will, because I knew I didn't want to sit with her in the end. And I knew that she was a better puzzle maker than everybody else left. And so I shot my shot. Having that necklace really does give you this weird sense of power. It was cool. I tried, but so I told her, I think, kind of towards the end, and Chad seemed to be on board with it. But again, he got his say in, and I think once, I mean, I kind of thought it was obvious for Geraldine not to talk to Rob about it, but I guess she did. And so then that spooked her, and then that gave Chad the chance to go up to her and be like, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. I'm voting for you. And, but before that, while we were walking, like, is when I told her, I was like, please vote for Nina. Otherwise the vote's on you. They're lying to you. Like, they're lying to you. They're going to vote for you. And I'm still like, about that tribal, because it was like a little, well, they're voting me out. What can I do? And I was thinking, I literally gave you a way out. Like, I tried. I don't know why to me you're trying to be woe is me, because I tried. And it didn't work. And I did tell her at one point, like, I was super proud of her. I didn't get to know her that well, but I was super proud of her, and what she's said sounds like she's overcome in the game. So I was like, good job, girl. But yeah, then the final 4 is the final 4 that we set out for. So
yeah. So I guess one last thing about the Geraldine vote. Do you think if you'd gotten the Geraldine earlier before the walk up, that might have made a difference, or was?
Well, I had talked to her about it at camp, but it was me saying, like, if you don't vote for Nina, the vote is you. That was on the way to camp. So I guess, I don't know. I think what I learned is that the obvious is not obvious to everybody. And the obvious was being, don't tell Rob. But I didn't tell her that because I thought that was obvious. So if she hadn't have, then maybe it would have worked. But
well, in a way, because Geraldine gets voted out, then Nina gets voted at 4. Would it just been Nina
switched.
at 5,
Yeah.
Geraldine at 4? Okay,
yeah.
So.
But what if? But honestly, Geraldine might have won that challenge over Chad. You know, say we get Nina out, and then the jury question one, maybe she would have won.
And do you think you would have been in trouble had she won?
I wouldn't have been in trouble. I think it would have been Chad out next.
So if Chad did, so with you, Nina, Chad, and Rob, if you or Rob win, is Nina always going out?
Yes.
And if Nina wins, Chad goes out.
If Nina won, I said this in one of my confessionals too. I think I would have wanted to go for Rob because I would have been too nervous for myself being in a final 3 with Rob and Nina, knowing that they are just as close, possibly, as I was with Nina, as I was with Rob. But Nina and Chad weren't close from what I gathered. So a 3 of me, Chad, and Nina felt like it would have been a safer option for me. But Chad probably, I don't know who we would have taken if it was me or Nina. He probably still would have taken Nina, but I don't know. Doesn't matter because that didn't happen and I made it, so.
Yeah, because the final 3 rolls around, it's evening day 7. You're probably wondering, like, why are we eliminated the entire tribe in the span of 2 days when there's a day 8? Well, the answer is you have a classic final immunity challenge, hands on a hard idol. You're going to start at dusk and go as long as you can.
Yes. I knew that was mine. I knew that my balance would outlast both of them. The fact that Rob had to pee on the wood stand was just like, oh my gosh, sir, do not pee on me.
I hope that doesn't make the episode.
No, everyone was very respectful. They closed their eyes and turned around. But that was awesome. I was so excited to do that challenge. And I had found this long feather. I have it over there somewhere, actually, at camp, and was like walking with it when we did the torch walk to remember thing. And when we started the challenge, I was like, okay, what is the best way to do my hair? So in case I'm standing for a few hours, so I put it up in a bun because I figured that would be good. My outfit choice was good. I had leggings, my sports bra, and my flannel if I got cold. And I was like, let me hold this feather too, just as something to fidget with. Or, oh, I have an itch in my foot, I'll use this feather. It came in handy. And then, like I said in one of my confessionals, starting that challenge, and like as time went on, my mind started to go to different places, and it was then that I was like, actually don't know if Chad would take me to the end. I feel good about Rob, and I knew if I won, I was going to be taking Rob, but I started to question, like, I don't know about Chad. And so he dropped first, and that was good for me. And then I don't know how long Rob and I went after that, but
Because I think you went like 2 hours and change total.
Yeah. I was in a good position, but like after I was looking up for a little while, I started to feel a little lightheaded, but didn't want to say anything. So that's when I like switched to going down like this. Like my arm was on my head was on my arm was on my leg. Oh my God, 2 hours and 10 minutes. And I felt good. And then Rob was nice enough after the game and bought me the idol. Because they did like an auction or whatever for all the things. So I have them with me right now. And yeah.
So I guess 2 things. You're feeling pretty good at this point in the game.
Yes.
And so, because I remember your confessionals, you're just like, I got this, right? Like, I have the game now. The second is, you don't give Robert Chat anything for the next 12 hours before Tribal Council. Talk to me about that.
I thought that would be so shitty. Like, I had my mind made up going into that challenge, but what a terrible feeling it would have been for me to tell them at night and then for them to sleep on that. Like, there's no way I was going to do that to Chad. That's just, that would be cruel. So I didn't really talk to either of them. But Rob went to bed so nervous. He was like, am I good? Am I good? I was like, Rob, go to bed. And, and then I went in the hammock. And I cried a lot in the hammock that night because I did it. I was so proud of myself for being the last person to win and being able to say I was the only one to get myself to the end and like on my own, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really, really happy. And yes, I felt at that moment that I was going to have the majority of the votes. And one of the reasons I felt that was when we did the walk to remember of us looking at all of the torches of everybody, and we could say something if we wanted about the people. I genuinely felt like I had something to say for almost everybody, and whether that be a game connection that I had or a silly inside joke that we had, I felt that my connections that I had were stronger than what Rob had and than what Chad had. There were several purple people that when we got to Rob, I don't know what I'm gonna say. You guys need to say something. Your own people. And I'm not going to say I wish I did this at my final tribal. I wish I did this. These are things that I could have talked about. Yes, I could have talked about this. In raising my hand for everybody thinking that they were going to vote for me, this is what I was thinking about. I was thinking about this moment when we were walking through and them not knowing what to say. There were some instances that I felt like Chad was saying something and I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. So I just felt confident in my relationships that I made with people, that they were stronger than what they made. And that's what I was going off of because my game was very much based on the relationships that I made. I was insulated because of the relationships I made. This is what I say when I feel like I shouldn't have to state the obvious, but obviously that's why I wasn't just insulated because people liked me. It's because I was putting in the work, because I was making the connections that I needed to. And I thought that that would warrant me some votes. Yeah.
There's a question from the audience before we go further on. I think this is about the immunity challenge. How did you stay focused so long during the immunity challenge and not be so stressed out?
I'm really good at those moments in life. I don't let pressure of much get to me. I am very relaxed person in general. I will overthink like crazy, and my anxiety will nitpick things. But in moments of stress, I am able to stay very focused. And also, I was singing to myself a lot. I was just recently in a production of Urinetown, and I was like, let's see how many of the lines I can memorize. So I went from, this is what I did driving to shows and rehearsals. It took me about a half hour to do a line through and go through all my lines and all my songs. And I was like, okay, this is a half hour it'll take me. And then let's do it again. Let's pick another show. So and I wasn't going to be annoying and sing out loud to people.
You could have been.
I didn't want to be that girl, because what if I did and then it somehow screwed me up somehow? So I had to focus on me. There was also one point, I feel like this is worth mentioning because it's funny. I don't remember if I think we had numbers and drew for spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
You drew numbers for the ability to choose your position.
Okay. What number was I? 2?
You were, I think you were in the middle, right? Rob is on top, you're in the middle, Chad's in the bottom.
Yeah. Well, we chose the wood. I specifically chose the one because my back would be to everybody. I didn't want to look at anybody else. I didn't want any chance of distraction. Mm-hmm. But then people were watching us, and we were just talking about all the people that were watching us and stuff. And I don't know if I asked or if they were like, well, Alyson, Andrew's there. You should turn around. You should turn around and say hi. And I was like, shut up, guys. No. So just like funny moments like that, like where we were all trying to distract each other. I even threatened to tickle Rob with a feather. I was like, watch out. What'd you say? Did she ever consider cutting a deal with either guy? No, because I wanted to win. And I already felt like Rob would take me. And Chad seemed to visibly and audibly be struggling. So I felt like I was going to beat him anyway. And so then I knew I was set. I didn't want either of them getting the satisfaction of breaking a record. No, like, sorry, you can share it.
I was like, that's probably a big deal that you denied records to 2 players.
Yeah, they don't need that shit.
Morning, day 8, tribal council. You vote Chad out. Anything else you want to add to that?
I feel like he probably knew just because I didn't say anything to him. Like, you're good, you know? But again, I think we went to bed that night. I even might have said, like, let's just go to bed and then we'll talk tomorrow. And then I had like one-on-one talks with them when the other person was doing their confessional. And I just sat there and smiled at them while they were talking about us and talking about their games. The smiles were real. I was like, oh, this is cool. And like, I'm proud of you both for all of us making it to this point. So that morning I felt still proud of myself for getting that win. And powerful in that I was going to be making the last move. But obviously it was sad to know that Chad's game would end.
From talking with players, it seems like that was the correct move. Chad was going to be the more difficult of the 2 opponents.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have a thought after that.
So going to Final Tribal Council, how did you want to pitch yourself, and how did you expect Rob to pitch himself?
I'm gonna pull a Rob right now and go to the bathroom really quickly because
Yes, go for it.
I can't think right now. So BRB.
Well, I thought she was literally meaning that with like the question for the Final Tribal Council, but also a 2-hour 20-minute podcast art endurance marathon. Though the record is still held by the winner of Surviving Reelfoot Unfinished Business, Austin Jackson, for 3 hours and 45 minutes, which no one is allowed to break for my sanity and all of yours too. But any other questions for Alyson when she gets back about Final Tribal Council or her game as a whole? And Aliana, if you want to elaborate about the naming of the muted idol, Bartholomew. I was going to say Bartholomew Idol, but no, Bartholomew. If you want to tell the story here, I'd appreciate that. Other than that, I still wish I had paper towels here because my desk is still half soaked with water. But again, sacrifices. Also, I'm so happy that there's a cat back there.
Okay. Thank you. Damn, I really didn't want this to go on this long.
No one believes me when I say, "Hey, this is gonna be a bit," because like I asked too many questions. Lachey was like horrified. She's like, "It's gonna be how long? I have a date."
But
right,
this is how I felt about my opening statement. I didn't want it to be this long because I think it hurts your game in talking too much. I obviously that night and in the morning, I was more so thinking about my opening and closings. I had my closing locked down that the two things I wanted to talk about were quitting my job and then making a connection of myself in the real world and myself in the game. And I stand by what I said. And I knew I would have the option to go first or last. And I was like, I want the first and last words. And I still stand by that choice too. But what I could have done better at was my opening statement. I could have just spark noted it. Instead, I laid out my entire game, which obviously took 9 minutes, but I wish I didn't do that. I just kind of wanted to talk about everything I did in case the questions didn't align with that. And they didn't. So I think the only one that aligned with something that I didn't talk about was Lachey's, because I didn't talk about how I was protected and insulated, and so that gave me the opportunity to talk about it. But I could have spark noted version it. I could have talked about how relationships drove my game. I had 5 people coming up to me. Yes, they were all equal. I was fluid with wanting to work with all of them, and everyone's saying, you could have said why each person was important. It's easy for everybody to think about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas after the game, and to give me criticism or constructive criticism of what I could have done for myself. And clearly I wasn't thinking of those things in real time. But I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think I was going to win this game. I don't think people valued me as much as I valued them. I don't think they held the value that I thought they would. And that's why I was so confident. Because I was thinking about myself and how I played the game and how proud of myself I was. And I should be. I did a really good job.
You beat 16 people and got to the end and got votes.
Say that again?
You beat 16 other people, made it the final tribal council. You got votes. You won challenges.
Yeah, and I never got a vote against me. That kind of annoyed me. So again, this could have been something that I could talk about. I could have. The things that I thought were obvious, I didn't speak on, and I could have spoken on them. And that was being that the small and mighty girl brought the mammoth of a man to the end, and I was prepared to fight. And why wasn't I seen as a threat? Like, I was great in challenges. I won 2 individual immunities. I made the relationships that I needed to. And still nobody wanted to come for me. So I don't know if I'm offended, I guess, that, like, was I not seen as a threat? And if not, I don't know. But I don't know where I'm going. I need a question.
I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about with Final Tribal Council? Or do you want me to ask you questions about the questions, or?
I did not watch the Final Tribal Council. I will not be. I don't think.
I
think
I have extensive notes on every question, every answer. If you want me to do stuff.
I just feel like my opening statement could have been better. I could have talked about how I was intentional with every conversation. I was intentional with the clothes I wore. I wore a white gray sweatshirt because I wanted to appear a little more innocent, knowing very well that sweatshirt was going to get filthy. I don't know. The obvious things to me that I feel like I didn't need to say, I guess I should have said. But Final Tribal was what it was.
I mean, Final Tribals, I think, for me, are always the hardest part to watch. Like, I dread watching Final Tribals. I dread being in Final Tribals. I think they're rough all around. You get through Final Tribal. How are you feeling walking out?
I felt like I got it. I felt like my closing statements were like, ooh, yeah, I did it. Because again, I was thinking about how I felt about the jury and how I didn't think they felt as strongly about Rob, but they didn't want to award me the win. Ultimately, I feel like because I didn't struggle. And I see that, but how much did Rob really struggle? I mean, he lost his number 1 ally. So to say he first lost his first number 1 ally, Trav, and then had to regroup. But he still was never, like, targeted. He was talked about by people, but there were never, like, a majority of votes on Rob versus Allie. Like, it was never, I don't know. He struggled more than me. But whatever. I still like my game.
And again, yeah. You did better than so the only time in the Final Tribal Council I was crying, and it was not a good look. So you've done much better than me.
My crying was, at the appropriate moment, I feel like.
So post Final Tribal Council, you shower, you change clothes, you get to the brewery. They read the votes. Master Nobody is asking what the vote count was. It is public footage. You can find it on the Reelfoot Facebook page and the Reelfoot YouTube page, I believe. And Rob ends up winning in a 6-3 vote.
Yes. I voiced this to a lot of people, But that brewery was terrible. Not the brewery itself. That whole experience for me was terrible. Rob and I, first of all, I think I was in the shower and that bathroom after the game for like an hour. I cried so much in the shower just because I was just like, oh, it's done. And I just let it out. But I obviously, as it is known, I was feeling like I was going to win. So it felt like I had something and it got stolen from me. And the TikTok video that I watched of the vote reveal, like it's just a shot of me. And I've never lost something like this, let alone in a public setting where immediately after it's supposed to be party mode. That was one of the hardest things that I've ever experienced. And people were hugging me. I don't remember. People were saying good job, and I like was standing in the corner, and I think I said to Allie, I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, you got to go out there. And then Melanie saw me, and she asked, do you want to go for a walk? And I just yes, and walked out. And I grabbed Trav to come with us because he is a real life friend of mine coming into this game. And I just needed something more real with me. And we walked, and I cried. And then we went to sit on a bench, and then more people came over. It was really, really hard. And really hard to process. And also, I'm not one, even if I were happy, to be like super social in settings like that. Like, I feel like I have my 3 people that I want to be around, and then the rest is like, how much longer are we going to be here? So I wasn't thrilled to know that once I calmed down a little bit, which I feel like we were out there for maybe like a half hour, had to go back into that brewery. And before we went there, before the votes were read, Rob and I were like this. We had each other in those moments. We felt like we both wished that the votes were read in the woods because we were so out of it, and it was a lot. And we were sitting in the back of the Stan's truck on the way there, and we both had each other's heads on our shoulders, and we were like, oh, we did it, but it's gonna be done soon. And all the while I was thinking I can't wait till I win. And then when I lose, I feel like I lost Rob, and it's not his fault. But now it's I have this little resentment towards him, and that sucks. But I don't really feel connected to this game, which sucks. I don't really feel connected to the people. I said this in one of my last day confessionals too. By no means was I as I was gonna say I was comparing myself to Genevieve in 47, how she made the moves but didn't make the connections. But I did make the connections. But the games, I felt like I wasn't really making real connections. I was just knew what I had to do, and I was doing it, and I was doing it well. And I wouldn't wish a solo runner-up position on anybody, because it is extremely lonely place to be, because pre-jury had each other. They had their outcast time. Maybe a little hard for Sam because she just joined and then it was all done. But then, you know, they had a few days in the house. And then jury, they had each other. Again, Chad joined last minute too, so it's probably a little harder for him too. But like they had all this time in this house and they played minis every night. And I just lost in a brewery and then got a really good pretzel and a beer. And then we went back to the house and I didn't want to be around anybody. I cried more and I separately had conversations with Chad and with Rob and, you know, cried to both of them too. And it was really hard. And still now I like am really happy that I played the game I did, but I don't really feel connected to much. And it makes sense, but yeah.
I don't know if this is helpful at all. When my first game I played, I made it to the final two.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an emotional wreck. It was like again, like Reelfoot, it was like a 7-day long game. Never done something like this before. And I was an emotional wreck and I walked in knowing I was going to lose and I lost. Mm. And, you know, there's the after party afterwards. And it's actually, this is the same location that Survival Challenge is in now. So it's the after party's at the house. And I look at my friend who is Blood versus Water. He was the first one out. I'm like, just get me out of here. I'm done. Yeah. I'm over. I'm upset. I'm exhausted. I want to shower. I want food and I want to leave.
Yeah. And then we get back to the house and like, I don't know. I didn't really feel checked on. I by a lot of people that maybe I was expecting to check on me. Players. And production too. I just, yeah, I was going off on my own, but I don't know. You didn't want to find me to like, just be like, hey, I see you probably want your alone time, but I'm here. I don't know. I just didn't, it was a whirlwind and I wanted it to end. But oh my gosh, 2:37. Is there a time limit on this thing?
No. I mean, what? Internally, we're not going past 3.5 hours.
Oh my God, no. But I want to talk about some things now. I was just wondering if like the streaming device like kicks you out.
Nope. One question for you. This is from Nobody D3. Okay. Do you think that other ladies saying they're at the game that a female winner was needed was more of a self-interested ploy?
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to be the last woman standing so that I could get the votes that I thought I was going to get. I was intentional with that. I was, but again, I don't think I was going to win, not because of what that question. I just think I wasn't going to win because I didn't struggle. Yeah. But any more questions before I talk about something else that I want to talk about?
I have some questions that wrap at the very end, but I think my game questions I have for you outside of the, you know, how has the processing been? So go for it.
Stage is yours. That's processing. Oh gosh, I forgot that I wanted to talk about all this because so much time has passed. And I hate that it's so tiny because it feels like I'm talking to the air, but it's okay. I do want to talk about some things and not intentionally in a way that I want to drag any individual. I don't want to try to demolish anything. These are things that now that I am outside of the game and processing, things that have happened to me that I feel like I have this little bit of platform now that I am feeling nervous right now, but nervous in a way that I feel like it's important to speak on. And especially being that Reelfoot is such a long-standing and well-known game, I'm not trying to bash much. I'm maybe being a little hopeful in that because it does have such a reputation, it wouldn't hurt to listen to some of my thoughts in hopes of a positive change for all. That's my blanket statement. So another thing that I will preface is I loved my game. I loved playing the game. I'm proud of the game I played. And even more so, during the game, I felt safe. I felt respected. I felt like it was run as smoothly as could be, especially for a big production as it is. But I do wish that on a production side, there was more female representation. And this can be said, I think, for a lot of games, and you can't fault anybody for who they created a game with and who their team is. But it would have been nice to seen a female in casting, perhaps, like just to have a different set of eyes and opinion. And like for me to not need to talk to a 24-year-old guy about the feminine products that I will be bringing into the game. Just like little things like that. It just like, I don't know. I feel like female representation going forward in general is something to want to consider. Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. But why not like add a little something. Because I feel now that I'm out of it and looking at it all, it just felt to me a little bit like a boys' club. And it's just something that I felt important enough to speak on. One instance, personally, again, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm saying all this. I believe I'm saying this. Who cares? And these things were talked about like in real time, so it's not like I need to have these discussions in private because they did happen and I did speak my mind at the time. I just feel like this could possibly be a conversation to open up, kind of like how I watched recently your podcast that you did with Nina and Mira about inclusion, accessibility. That was really great. But as we were all leaving, like the morning of, and, you know, people were saying their thank yous and goodbyes. I was saying goodbye to someone, and they on production, and they said, "Alyson, you played a great game. You're a great female player." And instantly, I was like, You don't need to say female. Like, I'm a great player. I'm a great competitor. I am a great person." And he said, yeah, I guess you're right. And then I walked away. And then I sat in the car for the 3 hours that it took to drive to the airport and was in and out of sleep, in and out of thoughts, and sat with that thought. And it just felt like, I am a good player, and it just to me didn't need to be said. And then it got me thinking a little bit more too about the awards that they gave out at the end. Like we did some, which is probably something that they do every year, and it's really cool to acknowledge everybody for something. I think everybody got like 2 to 3 awards, but some of them were divided and specifically divided for male and female. Like, for instance, I got best female strategist, and then there was a best male strategist, best female social butterfly, there was a best male social butterfly. Does that really need to be specified? Because has there been a non-binary person to play this game yet. I don't know. But that is something to consider, something to be just aware of. And it's a silly little award, I know, but it just also kind of rubbed me a little weirdly in that why does it have to be so specified? Because there were so many awards. Like it's not like you were running out and they needed to divide it. There were so many given. Just something that I thought of after the game. And this one's silly, but I feel like I'm just gonna say it anyway because it goes along with like my kind of bigger picture that I want to close with. And this is like so silly. The yearbook that they make. I have never seen one of these yearbooks, but it includes all of the awesome pictures about our game, which I'm so excited to see. And there's a cover made, and the cover includes certain people. And is there a rhyme or reason? I feel like there is. And the cover that was made personally made me feel a little jaded in that I felt like I wasn't as evenly represented as a finalist. And I voiced that to the powers that be, and was left with a like, we'll see if we change it. And then Chad, being the amazing guy that he was, messaged me later that night, just kind of checking in on me, and he too kind of like questioned the photo itself. This is so silly that I'm talking about it. Whatever. And he was wondering if like he said something, and I was like, I feel like it might not be necessary, but he took it upon himself and he did anyway, and in a very vague way, I believe. And then I double backed and kind of just checked in to see if maybe it was going to be considered to be changed, and then we were told that because like normally it isn't, once it's out there that's what it is, but because we both voiced our concerns, that there will be changes made to the cover, and it'll be seen when they're printed. And I am very appreciative of that because, you know, my feelings mattered in that situation, and they were heard. So thank you, truly. But it feels like it was changed and I was listened to because of someone else, because a guy spoke up. And I mean, it could have been yeah, we don't need to get into the what if it was another woman who said the same thing, but that's just how I felt, that my voice alone wasn't enough, that I needed to be backed up by somebody. So just again felt a little like these little things happened to me that I felt like a little irked by. And I wanted so badly to win this game, but I more so like wanted to win for women. I feel like I know it's silly to say this, but I feel like I like let ladies of the LRG world down by not getting a win and by only getting 2 out of the 5 ladies on the jury to vote for me. I didn't do anything wrong. I know I didn't. It just felt like this was my opportunity to kind of stand for this, and it didn't go out in my favor. And so I just wish that I had that win for the women. But so I try to look at everything as, why did this happen because of this? And yes, I was manifesting, like I said, but I also made that game happen for myself, and I did it. But maybe the reason I wasn't meant to win was for these little things to happen to me after the game, and for me to be able to reflect, and for me to, whatever reason, now feel the need to speak on it, because I feel like it's important to acknowledge. And again, I'm sorry if feelings are hurt, but mine were hurt also. And these are all things that I felt were important for me to speak on in this little platform that we have, in talking way too long about all of this tonight. But
we haven't even broken 3 hour yet. We haven't even broke the 3 hour mark yet. We still got time, Alyson.
Yeah. But yeah, I those are all things that I have been processing outside of the game. It's been really hard sitting with all of that I just talked about, and feeling like I don't really feel connected. And I am still a little confused as to why it all just ended, and I haven't been reached out to. It's just weird. These games are freaking weird, and we do it, voluntarily. We do it to ourselves. I talk about it in so many of my confessionals, how much I love these games. I genuinely do. I'd rather just live in this world than go be a server and make money. I'm so in my element in these games. I love it. But the after effects are crazy. And especially if things don't go how you were expecting, or you're left in such a lonely position like me. Like, I didn't have any time to process in the game setting like everybody else did. Like, Rob and I, like I said, going into that final tribal, we were one. We both felt so anxious, both not wanting to be social with anybody. We just wanted to be with each other. But then he won, so he got to celebrate, but I didn't. So then I was left like, I had to, I should have done this. I could have done this. And, now I don't think there's anything I could have done to have won. And I'm fine. I'm fine with that. But it still doesn't take away the fact that I didn't have the same time as everybody to process and comprehend it all, I don't know. Now I'm just rambling. I'm trying to get to the 3 hour mark now, honestly.
No worry. I mean, I'm curious because, like, for me, my first game going to the final tribal, losing hard, I felt like it was a month plus of me just trying to process this experience I had. And I've played other Survivor games since then. I've lost a lot, but never at the end. But I've never felt like it took as much to process the game as that first one had. I don't know if it was because it was the first or because I got to the end and lost. And so, looking at, because you've played a half dozen other games, what game, I guess, has been most comparable in terms of the reconciling and the kind of the coming to terms with the experience?
My first one, which was crazy, which was like 4 years ago. Outlast was my first game. And I had only played online games at that point. And I was blindsided. And I was voted out 4th. And then the person who went out after me was supposed to go in my place because they were sick. And they were like, just vote for me. But the people didn't believe us. So they blindsided me. But then that person after me once they lost, they were like, you know what? You don't need to vote. I'm just going. So then I was like, oh my gosh, like I could have been in the game. And so that was my first experience of like how excited I was to play. And then that happened, to the point that I didn't know how to process it. I didn't even go back. I only live a half hour away from the Outlast location. Even, it's been the same. So I just went home and I didn't go back the next day. I didn't go back the next day to see the winner. I didn't know what to do. And that one affected me for a while. And then the second game I played was a complete opposite. I finished 6th, and it was so fun because I did better than I had before. I'm no expert. Nobody's a real expert at these things, but I've definitely done enough to gather a little bit of advice. And aftercare for these games is so important. And that is also something that I feel like should be a little more in place with Reelfoot specifically. Like, why not have somebody check up on us every 3 weeks just to be like, hey, because you never know what anybody's actually processing. And some people want to process on their own too. I am one of those people too. But it's really hard. And I think...
Do you want to consider this your unofficial Reelfoot checkup podcast?
No, I'm over it. Plus, I don't like when I say things and then they happen. So I feel like they're only happening because I asked them to happen. But I think being in your cast, like, those are the people that you're going to process it the most with. And for me, I feel so alone. So that's also why it's been hard. And I have people who I like everybody. I don't have any ill will towards anybody, but I just don't. And obviously some people who I worked with, I do feel connected to, but others who I thought I would feel more connected to afterwards, I don't. And so it's just really weird. And it's almost like this for me, Reelfoot for me might be like an out of sight, out of mind processing, like just a little bit more time. Because I'm going to be hosting Outlast in a few weeks and then go be on film crew for Surviving Bloomington. So my mind is going to keep going.
Yeah, so Master Nobody's saying this experience is going to make you an even better host.
Thank you. I hope so. I'm really excited.
So, what has this experience meant or been for you then?
It's a good question. Because just as of recently, I equated it all to everything I just talked about of wanting more female representation and the things that I experienced that I felt were icky. And that, for me, I was like, okay, I don't think I was supposed to win because these things were supposed to happen to me and I was supposed to speak on it. Whatever comes of this, I don't know. But in thinking about my game in general, I was so confident, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I genuinely had so much fun. I made relationships that I knew would get me through the game. And so it's weird to play a game for the first time and not feel nervous. Maybe that's why this is weird for me to process too, because like I never felt like I was gonna be on the outs. I never felt like, oh, this could have been my time and I prevailed. I just always felt good. and I'm sure this will be the only game that'll ever happen to me for. Oh gosh, I don't know what I'm saying, but I am proud of being myself and proud of the fun that I had. And I hope that I inspired a few people in some ways. I hope to be on Survivor someday. I hope to win the lottery so I never have to work again.
And you just run these games?
And I will just be here. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm saying anymore. I wish I had one more like powerful thing to say. But life goes on. I don't know what my future holds for playing. I don't ever want to get to the end again, I don't think. Or if I get to the end, I want it to be kind of like, I'm not going to win, but I made it. I don't want to be confident anymore.
I mean, we all know going to a game like this, there are a lot of losers and one winner. But
Right.
it's hard being the actual person who loses final tribal count. So there's something unique and, like you said, kind of isolating to that position. And when there's a final three, at least you're not alone. Someone else went through that whole process with you. But final two, it's just you, and you're just like, oh wow,
I lost.
What have I done?
Yeah. And I'm aware of that, and I think it's just because I literally went into the game so positive that I was gonna win. Like before I even knew the cast, at home when I got cast, these flowers behind me and this, like, I think it was like Amos, maybe when they said we were cast, he was like, those flowers on top of your head kind of look like a crown, and I was like, yeah, premonition. Like, I'm not kidding when I said I literally manifested everything. And I didn't just manifest it. I did it. I did the work. It worked in my favor. It was great. Gosh, where are my thoughts going?
You up for some rapid fire wrap-up questions?
Sure. Is anyone even doing this?
Yeah, we have 6 people right now. Melanie is here. Aliana's been watching. I don't know who Master Nobody is, but they're watching. I think they're a little lagged. I can't tell.
Oh my gosh.
If you can go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice before the game began, what would you tell yourself?
I don't know, because I made it to the end, so it's not like there's anything that I wish I did differently. Like, I don't have any what ifs for my game, which even losing, I don't have any what ifs because I don't think I was going to win. So that's a hard question. Can you ask me one more time?
What's a piece of advice you wish you could go, if you could go back in time, give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
I guess to no.
Like I said, hard-hitting questions in these interviews.
I know, but this isn't even a hard question. But that, I think I can't come up with an answer because I don't have any what ifs. I guess
Not even like better socks.
I was like, I liked all the clothes I brought. I literally loved the clothes I brought. I don't know. I really don't know. Just because I can't even say just have fun, be yourself, because I did. I was. Maybe I could have made a running joke in my confessionals and kind of just like added something to every ending, like told a short story and like you gotta wait for the next one to hear what's coming next. I don't know.
You play a lot of games. Do you prefer swaps or no swaps?
Swaps are scary. Swaps screw you. I'm gonna go with no swaps.
Should every game have a redemption component?
Yeah, I think that's fun. I think it's fair, especially for people who are flying out to places and spending so much money and taking so much time off. Like, give them a little bit of hope.
What's your favorite musical?
Ooh. Oh gosh. SpongeBob. I love the SpongeBob musical because it's campy, the humor is like quick, and the songs are fun, and I love SpongeBob.
What was your favorite challenge?
The last one. That was awesome. To be able to do such a classic challenge and to know that everyone was probably really jealous of us, and to know that going into it that I was going to do well. And I love the night aspect of it. That was really cool. And I won.
What was one favorite camp life moment?
Oh my gosh. Inada was so fun. Like, I think I can honestly say this was the most fun tribe I've ever been on in any game. And we still got the job done, but oh my gosh, we were there playing big booty, big booty, big booty, while the other tribe was meditating. No offense, but come on, it was we labeled ourselves as the fun vibe tribe. I loved making our Hotel Inada video. That was really funny to see what everybody came up with on the spot. I just everybody was so funny. Like I can think of a one-liner joke, I think, from everybody, like it, if I really thought about it. Like everyone was just so funny. And also I really loved Colby being my hype man for all of my burping. On the sheet that we had to fill out of like going into the game, like what are your strengths and weaknesses, there was a question, what do you want your tribe to know after night one? And mine said that I will be burping aloud. And I think I gave them like 3 burps of saying excuse me, and I was like, guys, I think I'm almost done saying excuse me. But anytime I had a good burp, Colby was like, nice, and pounded it. I did that at when I got to his torch. I tried to burp. It was very weak. But
Who would you have shared the jar of candy with?
Oh, if I would have done the same thing that Colby did and asked. So I feel like that's not a very fun answer, but that's what I would have done.
Any candy you would have added or taken out of it, or swap with?
Ooh, I think. Oh, there were Skittles in there too. That was good. They definitely had a good selection of the chewy, sour candy. I think I would have swapped the Skittles because they were like the tropical flavors. Like,
those are good.
I don't know. I was expecting a classic and it was not. So I would. Maybe they did. They did have the originals, but then they added those in there. Maybe. I was gonna say, Jolly Ranchers would have been really nice. Something hard to. It's too dirt. So I was gonna say something hard to suck on, something hard to keep in your mouth. But like, I'm still single.
I was gonna say, like, there was a request, like, hey, if you want, reach out.
I know. I will set the record straight. You know how many? So yeah, the running joke for me was I wanted to like get DMs and stuff. And after every challenge, I was like, oh yeah, how many am I gonna get now? You want to guess how many I got? Go ahead, I won't be offended.
3.
You know what, Steven? I got 1 DM, and it was from Jay West. That man got voted out by me and still was like, girl, you're doing awesome. And then sent me a shirt. That's a true ally. So yeah. Maybe after I host Outlast, people will feel, I don't know, like, am I too confident that it's too intimidating for people? Perhaps. So whatever.
I mean, maybe you're just figuring a way to marry the Bachelorette and Survivor together.
I thought about that. So the Outlast crew, they were like, oh yeah, there's so many good applicants. And I was like, so what you're saying is after this, we should do a Bachelorette season for me.
Or the losers get thrown into the Bachelorette sub-game that's going on.
Yes. There's possibility.
Season, just think of it.
I am if I am going to be a voice of women, why not create a Bachelorette game?
Who do you wish you had a chance to work with in the game but never had an opportunity to do so?
I mean, if I'm thinking, oh no, my phone. Hold on. If I'm thinking of the purple people, I mean, I really wish I got to play with Trav. We played in a 1-day game, like 3 years ago, and I voted him out. And then he played Outlast, and then we became real life friends. Oh, this is something cool that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. But we were walking in the airport together, and I saw in the glass window Sean Astin. You know him?
He plays Samwise Gamgee, right?
Yes!
In Lord of the Rings, yeah.
We walked by him, and I was like, oh, that was Sean Astin. And I did a double take, and yes. And I was like, we have to go in and get a picture. And so I met, and I was like, excuse me, are you Sean Astin? He was like, yeah, I am. I was like, hi, I'm Alyson. I was like, he knows me. We should have told him about the game. He was so nice, and we got a picture, and he just asked like, oh, where are you flying? Like a nice person. But I should have just been like, well, actually, we just played Survivor.
You should apply next year.
Yeah, you should apply, Sean Astin. Come back to Tennessee. Tag him. Yeah.
Okay, that's a pretty awesome photo to get. I'm pretty jealous about that.
Right? So I was like still processing the game. I was still sad, but I had my real life friend with me who I was still having like conversations with. And then all of a sudden we meet Sean Astin. Like that was really cool. That was cool.
Last question.
Okay.
Besides yourself, who would you like to see come back and play another season of Reelfoot in the future?
I would love for, oh, this is hard. I'm trying to think of somebody who I feel like would evaluate their game, do something different, and my heart is leaning towards Colby. He didn't really do anything wrong. And I think give him another year or 2 or 3 and he'll be a little older. So he won't be the young one. Yeah, Colby.
Alyson, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything about your game or your experience you like to talk about still?
Probably. I'm gonna be like, oh, after we hang up, wait.
Well, if you need a part two,
God,
just let me know.
I really don't want a part two. I was so nervous when you couldn't see me anymore that I wouldn't get. Wait, what's the record?
3 hours, 45 minutes.
Oh God, no, I can't talk for another half hour.
No, I wouldn't let you either.
Thank you. No, I guess in wrapping it all up, I don't know why I feel like I need to do another wrap up of like I'm at Final Tribal, but whatever. I got cast. I was positive. I was prepared. I played a great game. I'm proud of the game I played. I'm proud of the people that I played with. I didn't make the cast, so you can't fault me for knowing the most people. I used it to my advantage. And honestly, I'm surprised it wasn't a Final Tribal question. I was prepared to speak on whatever. But if nobody was talking about it, then I wasn't going to. I think it's easy for people once they're out of the game to quote unquote say what I should have done. But they didn't get to the end. So obviously I'm not going to listen to what your opinion was because I was playing what I needed to do and I knew what I needed to do and I did it and I got to the end and that's really cool. I think that this game was for me, like, meaning that I played this game for myself and looking back on it all, like it's really cool that I made it as far as I could. I got to do every challenge. And I think when I was in the game, I didn't really acknowledge the magnitude of that. I was thankful and appreciative of all the people around me that wanted to work with me. But looking at the game as a whole, it's really cool that I got to do all the things I did. And I don't think I was going to win against quite a few of the last people left. I don't think there was a world that I was winning. So I don't think there's anything I could have done differently. Hold on. And again, I feel like the things that I spoke on about that happened to me after the game and my feelings and processing and women, I think that's why I wasn't meant to win. But if I help in a little way to create a little bit of change or spark up another conversation, then it was worth it for me. If I make enemies out of this, felt important for me to speak on. And I quit my job for this. So that's how much I love playing these games. Oh gosh, this is just a ramble. Yeah, so next I'll be a host of Outlast, and I'm so excited for that because you best believe that I will be my fun self, and I'm so excited to see how I am in that too. I feel confident, definitely a little nervous.
You can't be voted out.
What?
You can't be voted out from that role.
No one's voting
something
me
really
out.
weird happens.
Can't shoot the messenger. I just, yeah. It's going to be really fun.
Alyson, thank you for spending your evening talking with me. I hope this has been a useful or helpful conversation. I know that recovery from these games, sometimes you walk out and you feel great. Other times it can just take longer to recover or process the experience, because I think these games, for better or worse, can be a level traumatic.
Yeah.
And so I hope this is probably not a. I wish my podcast was a cure-all. I doubt it's a cure-all, but I hope this is a helpful step.
Yes, definitely. I honestly feel like I don't remember what we just talked about. It was 3 hours long, but I knew that I needed this to be my last piece of getting it all out. And again, I didn't watch anybody else's because I don't think I can handle that, and I don't have the attention span to listen to that. So thank you to everybody who played this game with me. And thank you to all the crazy people who are listening now. And I don't know.
What you should just do is hire Aliana to go clip the good parts from other people's podcasts. You can just listen to those segments and just not have to worry about anything else.
I don't know. I don't even care about that. I'm all done. All done.
Well, with that, thank you so much, Alyson, for your time tonight and for your story. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening. This has been another episode of Live Rally Game Podcast. Next week, I'll be sitting down with Janai, and there's 4 more people after her that I need to reach out to and coordinate with. So it'll all slowly happen, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Alyson. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Thank
Have
you.
a good rest of your evening.